Most people imagine a wealthy Victorian woman living a life of effortless comfort. They picture silk gowns, afternoon tea, polished drawing rooms, and servants quietly handling every inconvenience. They imagine freedom purchased by privilege, a life cushioned from difficulty. Yet if we step quietly into Kensington, London in the year 1887 and look more closely, another picture begins to emerge. This detail matters more than it appears. Behind every elegant appearance stood an enormous machinery of labor, money, observation, and expectation. Respectability was not something a woman simply possessed. It was something she maintained, protected, polished, and performed every day. And few people understood this better than Eleanor Ashcroft. The house is still dark. Heavy curtains cover the windows of the bedroom, muting the first signs of dawn. A faint orange glow lingers inside the fireplace, where yesterday's coal has settled into dull embers. The air is cool enough that the exposed skin of a hand feels the difference immediately when it leaves the warmth of the blankets. A gaslight burns low nearby. Its small flame produces a soft hiss that Victorian ears knew, as well as modern people know, the hum of a refrigerator. Listen carefully. The house itself is asleep. No footsteps, no voices. Only the occasional creak of timber adjusting to the night, and the distant sound of carriage wheels somewhere beyond the streets of Kensington. Perhaps you are listening late at night yourself. If so, imagine the weight of those curtains, the faint smell of coal smoke, the softness of linen sheets beneath wool blankets, the quiet pressure of darkness before the city awakens. Eleanor lies awake. She is 32 years old, married, mother of 3 children, comfortably wealthy by Victorian standards, and unable to sleep. Beside her, Henry Ashcroft sleeps soundly. His breathing remains steady beneath the darkness. Tomorrow, or rather later today, he will return to chambers, meet clients, argue cases, and continue building the successful legal career that supports the household. The public world belongs largely to him. The private world belongs largely to Eleanor. Victorian society often described this arrangement as natural. Simple, orderly, yet reality was considerably more complicated. A successful barrister in prosperous Kensington might earn between $2,000 and $4,000 annually, depending upon reputation and workload. In modern terms, such purchasing power would place a household comfortably among affluent professional families. But maintaining that position consumed astonishing resources. Servants required wages, coal required constant purchase, clothing demanded replacement, food arrived daily, social obligations generated expenses of their own. The elegant appearance of stability rested upon a continuous flow of money and labor. And here's where people often get this wrong. Wealth reduced certain hardships. It did not eliminate responsibility. In many ways, it multiplied it. Eleanor shifts slightly beneath the blankets. The movement is small, almost invisible. A tiny adjustment of comfort. A perfectly ordinary human moment. Yet even this room reveals something about the world she inhabits. The bed itself is substantial. The carved wooden frame represents skilled craftsmanship. The mattress is far more comfortable than those used by most Londoners. The fireplace provides heat. The curtains provide privacy. The dressing table holds brushes, combs, jars, bottles, pins, and carefully arranged personal items. Nothing here happened accidentally. Someone purchased it. Someone cleaned it. Someone maintained it. Someone judged it. Because Victorian respectability extended beyond behavior. It occupied physical space. The condition of a household communicated information. A visitor noticing worn furnishings might draw conclusions. A neighbor observing neglected maintenance might speculate. A social rival might quietly remember. Reputation traveled quickly through respectable circles. Calling cards, dinner invitations, church attendance, charitable committees. Family connections, these formed an intricate network of observation, not surveillance in the modern technological sense, something older, something human. People watched, people remembered, people compared. A respectable woman existed inside that web every day. Eleanor opens her eyes toward the faint outline of the window. The curtains remain closed, yet she knows precisely what lies beyond them. Rows of terraced houses, street lamps, morning deliveries, milk carts, domestic workers beginning another day. London itself, one of the largest cities on Earth, more than 4 million people living within an expanding urban landscape powered by coal, industry, trade, empire, and ambition. From this bedroom, the city feels distant, but it is always present. The window represents a boundary. Inside is private life. Outside is society. And society has expectations. The word appears repeatedly throughout Victorian advice manuals, sermons, newspapers, and private correspondence. Expectations. A respectable wife should manage her household effectively. She should raise children properly. She should support charitable causes. She should maintain social relationships. She should host appropriately, dress appropriately, behave appropriately, speak appropriately, appear neither idle nor ambitious, neither frivolous nor overly intellectual, neither extravagant nor miserly. The balance required constant adjustment. A woman could spend years building a reputation and damage it surprisingly quickly. Not usually through scandal. Scandal was rare, more often through accumulation, a poorly managed event, an unfortunate acquaintance, a neglected obligation, a social slight remembered by the wrong person. Small things, human things. Yet small things often shaped Victorian lives. Let us pause here. Imagine Eleanor standing now and crossing the room. Her bare feet touch a cold patch of floor. The sensation travels instantly upward. She reaches the curtains. The fabric feels heavy in her hands, thick enough to keep warmth inside during winter and sunlight outside during summer mornings. Then she parts them slightly, only a few inches, enough to look. Outside, dawn begins to gather over Kensington. The city remains mostly quiet. A faint mist lingers near the street. Gas lamps still burn. Soon, servants throughout London will begin lighting fires, carrying water, sweeping hallways, preparing breakfast trays, and setting entire households into motion. Millions of individual tasks, most invisible, many performed by women. This hidden labor formed the foundation of Victorian comfort. Even Eleanor's own privilege depended upon it. Her household could not function without servants. Their work created the appearance of effortless order. Yet the irony is striking. The servants labored visibly. Eleanor labored invisibly. One maintained the machinery of the house. The other maintained the machinery of respectability. Both forms of work consumed time. Both demanded skill. Both carried consequences when performed poorly. And as dawn brightens beyond the window, Eleanor finds herself lingering there for a moment longer. A brief stillness, a private pause before duties begin. The city has not yet asked anything of her. The children are sleeping. The servants have not yet appeared. No visitor expects a reply. No invitation requires consideration. No reputation requires maintenance. Only silence. Only the pale light gathering over London. Only the faint reflection of a woman standing between privilege and expectation. Soon the house will awaken. Doors will open. Footsteps will echo through hallways. The intricate systems sustaining the Ashcroft household will begin moving once again. And with them, Eleanor's day. Before the household fully awakens, before fires are stirred and bells are answered, it is worth lingering beside the quiet for just a little longer. Imagine a comfortable fireside, not the bright blaze of a grand gathering, but the softer warmth of a private room where the last embers glow gently beneath a layer of ash. The coal settles with an occasional crackle. A faint ribbon of heat rises into the still air. Outside, London waits. Inside, there is only calm. Perhaps you can hear the distant rhythm of carriage wheels somewhere beyond the streets of Kensington. Perhaps only silence. Either would have been familiar to Eleanor Ashcroft. Either would have been familiar to countless people who lived through this century we are about to explore together. History often reaches us through great events, wars, elections, industrial inventions, famous names. Yet most lives were not lived inside famous moments. They were lived in bedrooms and hallways, beside fireplaces and windows, around breakfast tables and writing desks. They unfolded through ordinary mornings, quiet worries, small pleasures, and daily routines repeated so often that they became almost invisible. That is the journey before us. Not simply the history of Victorian wealth, but the history of what it felt like to inhabit it. Not merely the appearance of privilege, but the reality beneath it. The texture of fabric against skin, the weight of expectations carried from room to room, the unseen work hidden behind polished appearances. So settle for a moment beside this fireside. Allow the noise of the modern world to drift a little farther away. Ahead lies a day in the life of Eleanor Ashcroft, a wife, mother, organizer, companion, and guardian of a carefully maintained reputation. The house is quiet still. The city is only beginning to stir, and our journey into her world is about to begin. By 6:30, the stillness has begun to dissolve. Not suddenly. A Victorian household rarely awakened all at once. Instead, life arrives in stages. First comes the faint sound of movement somewhere below, a door opening, a bucket being set down, the muted scrape of a coal scuttle across a floor, then another sound, then another. The house gradually gathers momentum, like a great machine beginning its daily operation. From her bedroom, Eleanor can hear only fragments. A distant footstep, the soft closing of a door, the almost musical creak of old floorboards. These sounds are so familiar that she rarely notices them consciously, yet if they vanished, she would know immediately that something was wrong. The Ashcroft residence stands on a respectable street in Kensington, one of London's most desirable districts. The neighborhood has changed dramatically over recent decades. New wealth has flowed into the area. Elegant terraces have multiplied. Professionals, merchants, lawyers, physicians, and businessmen have settled here, creating a prosperous landscape of polished brick facades and carefully maintained homes. From the street, the house appears orderly and composed. 3 stories rise above a basement level. Tall windows reflect the pale morning light. Stone steps lead toward a black painted front door. A brass knocker catches the eye. Everything suggests stability. Everything suggests success. Yet buildings tell only part of the story. To understand Eleanor's world, we must step inside. And here we must be precise. Victorian homes were not simply places to live. They were systems. Every room had a purpose. Every floor carried social meaning. Every staircase quietly reinforced the hierarchy of the household. Let us enter through the front door. The hallway stretches ahead. The floor tiles are cool beneath one's feet. Umbrella stands wait near the entrance. A mirror hangs where visitors can inspect themselves before entering further. The scent of coal smoke drifts faintly through the house. To one side lies the drawing room. This room functions almost like a public stage. Visitors will be received here. Conversations conducted here. Reputations shaped here. Its furniture communicates taste and prosperity. Upholstered chairs, framed photographs, decorative ornaments, carefully selected books, and polished surfaces all contribute to a subtle message. The family is respectable. The family is successful. The family belongs. Further inside stands the dining room, where meals structure the rhythm of the day. Above are the family's private rooms. Below, largely unseen by visitors, lies another world entirely. The servant spaces, the kitchen, the scullery, storage rooms, workrooms, areas where much of the household's labor occurs beyond public view. This separation matters. Victorian society prized smooth appearances. The work supporting comfort was often deliberately hidden. The household resembles an iceberg. Visitors see the polished portion above the surface. Most activity occurs beneath. As Eleanor leaves her bedroom, she steps onto the landing and approaches the staircase. The polished wood gleams even in the early light. This staircase serves as one of the house's central arteries. Children run up and down it. Servants carry laundry across it. Messages travel through it. Family members move between their public and private lives upon it. For Eleanor, it often represents transition. Each descent carries her from personal space into responsibility. The bedroom belongs primarily to herself. The lower floors belong increasingly to others. As she rests her hand briefly upon the banister, she hears laughter, a child's laughter. Thomas, 8 years old, already awake, already energetic. The sound travels upward from below. Moments later comes another voice. Clara, older, more measured. At 11, she stands on the threshold between childhood and the expectations of young womanhood. Victorian society has already begun shaping her future. She studies subjects considered appropriate for a girl of her station. Literature, French, music, drawing, household accomplishments. Not because she will pursue a profession. Few respectable women of her class could. Rather, because education itself has become part of social performance. An accomplished daughter reflects well upon the family. A skilled pianist improves marriage prospects. A graceful conversationalist strengthens social standing. Even childhood contains preparation. And then there is Rose, only 4 years old, the youngest, the least burdened by future expectations, at least for now. Rose still inhabits that wonderful territory where curiosity outruns social rules. She asks questions that adults sometimes avoid. She notices details others miss. She occasionally appears at breakfast with mismatched stockings and complete confidence. Eleanor finds this secretly delightful. The thought brings the smallest smile, a human moment. Brief, private, gone, almost immediately. Yet it lingers, because despite all the systems surrounding Victorian life, families remain families. Children remain children. The household is becoming louder now. Breakfast approaches, and somewhere below, Mrs. Whitmore is already working. Mrs. Whitmore serves as housekeeper. Her position carries considerable responsibility. Many modern people imagine servants as interchangeable figures moving silently through the background. Reality was more complex. An experienced housekeeper functioned almost like an operations manager. She supervised supplies, managed inventories, oversaw cleaning, coordinated servants, monitored household needs, maintained standards, protected efficiency. In a prosperous household such as this one, Mrs. Whitmore's annual wage might reach $30 to $40, in addition to room and board. The amount represented respectable earnings for domestic service. Her authority extends throughout much of the house. Younger servants respect it, sometimes fear it, often depend upon it. A household that appears effortless from the outside frequently relies upon someone like Mrs. Whitmore behind the scenes. Then, there is Sarah Finch, Eleanor's lady's maid. You will come to know Sarah better as the day unfolds. Her work differs from the housekeeper's. Where Mrs. Whitmore manages systems, Sarah manages details. Clothing, hair, personal items, dressing routines, repairs, preparation, the countless tasks required to maintain an upper-middle-class woman's appearance. A skilled lady's maid might earn $18 to $25 annually, along with lodging and meals. Again, the figures matter. Victorian life was built from economics. Every polished surface represented labor. Every elegant garment represented expenditure. Every appearance required investment. The Ashcroft household employs several servants altogether, not dozens, not the enormous staff associated with aristocratic estates, but enough to sustain comfortable professional wealth. A cook, housemaid, nursemaid, housekeeper, lady's maid, occasional additional help when required. Maintaining such a household consumed a substantial portion of family income. This detail matters more than it appears. Many modern people imagine wealthy Victorians accumulating luxury endlessly. In practice, status itself was expensive. Servant wages, coal bills, food purchases, clothing, schooling, charity subscriptions, transportation, maintenance, the money flowed continuously outward. A household supported by approximately $2,500 annual income might spend hundreds of pounds merely preserving the lifestyle expected of its position. Wealth created security, but it also created obligations. The staircase creaks again. Eleanor begins descending. Halfway down, she pauses, not because anything is wrong, simply because she can see the household awakening beneath her. A moment of observation, a small rest pocket before the day's responsibilities fully begin. Sunlight now reaches the hallway windows. A servant crosses the passage carrying linens. Someone enters the dining room. Somewhere in the distance, a kettle rattles. The house feels alive. Notice how many people contribute to this ordinary morning. The children preparing for lessons, the servants preparing meals, Henry preparing mentally for legal work, Eleanor preparing for everything else. Victorian advice literature often described the wife as the moral center of the home. The phrase sounds abstract, but what did it actually mean? It meant coordination, attention, oversight, emotional management, reputation management, education, hospitality, charity, relationships in modern language. Eleanor occupies several roles simultaneously. Part chief executive officer, part event planner, part personnel director, part educator, part public relations manager, part mother. The titles did not exist. The responsibilities certainly did. And unlike Henry, whose profession ended when he left chambers, Eleanor's responsibilities followed her through nearly every room of the house. The morning continues advancing. The grandfather clock marks another quarter hour. Breakfast preparations near completion. Children's voices grow louder. The city beyond Kensington becomes increasingly busy. Horses clatter along streets. Shopkeepers begin opening doors. Deliveries arrive. London awakens. Eleanor resumes her descent. One hand glides along the polished banister. Ahead lies breakfast. After that, dressing, then correspondence. Visitors, obligations, decisions, expectations. The entire machinery of respectable Victorian life. But before society can see Eleanor Ashcroft, another system must begin operating first. The careful transformation of the body itself into a public presentation. Breakfast has come and gone. The children have been guided toward their lessons. Henry has begun preparing for the professional world awaiting him beyond the front door. Servants move through hallways with increasing purpose. Somewhere below, dishes are being cleared. Somewhere above, beds are being made, and Eleanor has reached the next stage of her day, preparing to be seen. To modern eyes, getting dressed may appear simple. One garment, a few minutes, perhaps a glance in the mirror before leaving the house. Victorian respectability demanded something very different. Appearance was not an afterthought. Appearance was infrastructure. And like any infrastructure, it required planning, materials, labor, maintenance, and time. By 9 o'clock, Eleanor has returned to her bedroom. Morning light now filters through the curtains she parted earlier. The room feels transformed from the shadowed quiet of dawn. The fireplace has been refreshed. Fresh coal crackles softly behind the grate. The chill has retreated from the air. Sarah Finch is already waiting. A lady's maid learned to anticipate rather than ask. The profession required discretion almost as much as skill. Sarah is 27 years old, practical, observant, and remarkably efficient. She knows where every ribbon belongs. She notices loose stitching before anyone else. She can repair a torn hem, arrange hair, remove stains, and prepare clothing with astonishing speed. Like many domestic servants, she possesses expertise rarely acknowledged publicly. Victorian households depended upon such knowledge, yet society often preferred to notice the result rather than the worker. The elegant lady received admiration. The maid remained largely invisible. Sarah begins by preparing water. And here we must be precise. Victorian hygiene differed greatly from modern routines. There is no bathroom with hot water flowing instantly from a tap. No shower waiting behind a glass door. Every stage requires labor. Water must be heated. Carried, poured, arranged, the process begins elsewhere in the house. A fire heats water, containers transport it, basins receive it. Only then can washing begin. The water releases small clouds of steam into the room. Eleanor removes her dressing gown. The morning air touches her skin. The sensation is immediate. Cool, briefly uncomfortable, very human. She washes her face first, then her neck, then her hands. The water cools gradually during use. Victorian women of Eleanor's class valued cleanliness, but daily full-body bathing remained less common than many modern people assume. Practical limitations of heating and transporting water made the process more involved. Instead, regular washing occurred through a sequence of routines: face, hands, neck, personal grooming, periodic baths, different stages serving different purposes. Nothing happened instantly. Everything required effort. Even cleanliness possessed an economic dimension. The coal needed to heat water cost money. The servants carrying it required wages. The equipment required maintenance. Comfort emerged from systems. Sarah lays out brushes next. Hair care alone occupies a significant portion of the morning. Victorian fashion favored elaborate arrangements requiring patience and skill. Eleanor's hair is thick. Sarah begins brushing from the ends upward. Long strokes. Methodical strokes. The brush passes repeatedly through the dark strands. The sound is soft but rhythmic. Brush, pause. Thousands of such moments accumulated across a Victorian lifetime. Many women spent years caring for hair that might reach well below the waist. Hair pieces sometimes supplemented natural volume. Pins secured complicated arrangements. Oils and preparations helped maintain appearance. Fashion demanded time. Time demanded labor. Labor demanded resources. The chain extended endlessly. Sarah gathers sections carefully, twists, pins, adjusts, examines, then adjusts again. A tiny strand refuses cooperation, the kind of irritation every person in every century understands. Eleanor suppresses a sigh, not because the problem matters greatly, simply because she would rather the process proceed smoothly. Such small frustrations rarely appear in history books, yet they formed much of everyday life. A misplaced pin, a stubborn curl, an uncomfortable shoe. History happened around these moments, and through them, the hairstyle gradually takes shape. Respectable, fashionable, controlled. The word controlled matters. Victorian ideals often celebrated restraint. Emotion should be controlled. Behavior should be controlled. Appearance should be controlled. Hair itself reflected broader social values. Wildness suggested disorder. Order suggested character. The assumptions were not always fair, but they were powerful. Now comes the stage most associated with Victorian womanhood. The corset. Few garments have accumulated more myths. Popular imagination often portrays Victorian women fainting constantly from impossibly tight lacing. Reality was more complicated. Some women certainly practiced extreme tight lacing. Most did not. Yet even ordinary corsetry imposed physical consequences. Sarah lifts the garment. The corset feels surprisingly substantial. Its structure contains whalebone and steel supports. The fabric itself is strong cotton, reinforced for durability. Rows of eyelets accommodate the laces. This is engineering as much as clothing. The garment has weight. Purpose, architecture. Eleanor steps into position. The process begins. First, the corset settles around the body, then the fastening, then the lacing, then the gradual tightening. Not all at once, stage by stage. The pressure increases steadily. A pull, adjustment, another pull, another adjustment. Sarah works with practiced precision. The corset reshapes posture before it reshapes appearance. Shoulders settle differently. The back straightens. Movement changes. Breathing changes slightly. The body adapts. Many women described the sensation as familiar rather than shocking. Yet familiarity should not be mistaken for comfort. Eleanor feels the pressure immediately, especially after the freedom of sleep. The contrast remains noticeable every morning. A small discomfort accepted because society expects it. This detail matters more than it appears. Victorian respectability often involved transforming voluntary choices into invisible obligations. A woman technically chose her clothing, yet social expectations narrowed those choices dramatically. The corset becomes less a preference than a requirement. To appear respectable meant participating in shared standards. Opting out carried consequences. Imagine a modern professional arriving at an important meeting wearing clothing entirely outside accepted norms. The reaction would be immediate. Victorian society operated similarly. Different rules, same social pressure. Sarah secures the final adjustments. The transformation continues. Next comes the chemise layers beneath, then stockings, then petticoats. One petticoat, then another. Fabric accumulates gradually. Weight increases. Volume increases. Movement becomes more structured. The audience should feel this physically. The garments do not simply appear, they build, layer by layer. Skin, chemise, corset, stockings, petticoat. additional petticoat. Bustle framework, dress. Each stage alters sensation, each stage changes movement, each stage affects posture. The bustle waits nearby. By the late 1880s, fashionable silhouettes emphasize fullness toward the back of the skirt. The structure supporting this shape resembles a lightweight framework worn beneath outer garments. Again, fashion requires engineering. The Victorian silhouette was constructed. Not accidental, not natural. Constructed. Sarah helps position the bustle correctly. Fabric rustles. Pins click softly against metal. Eleanor shifts her weight experimentally. The architecture of the outfit settles into place. Now the dress itself. Today she has selected a silk gown suitable for morning social obligations. The silk catches light differently from cotton. Smoother, cooler against the skin, more expensive. A high-quality silk gown might cost between $6 and $12. In modern purchasing power, that represents a substantial investment, and most respectable women required multiple dresses serving different functions. Morning wear, afternoon wear, visiting wear, dinner wear, evening wear, morning wear, travel wear. The wardrobe itself represented a significant component of household expenditure. Many families spent hundreds of pounds annually on clothing alone, and clothing generated secondary expenses. Maintenance, storage, cleaning, repair, laundry. Laundry especially deserves attention. Victorian laundering was a demanding operation. Servants heated water, scrubbed fabrics, boiled items, dried items, pressed items, folded items, repeated endlessly. A prosperous household could spend 30 to 60 annually merely maintaining clothing and linens. Elegant garments carried hidden armies of labor behind them. Sarah fastens the final buttons. The gown settles properly. Now gloves, not yet worn, but prepared. A pair of kid gloves rests upon the dressing table. Their pale surface appears delicate, almost fragile, yet socially they carry remarkable significance. Gloves represent respectability, public appearance, presentation. One might say they function as a kind of social uniform, a recurring symbol of the world Eleanor inhabits. Nearby lies another familiar object, her pocket diary, smaller than a modern notebook, bound neatly. Private, personal, few objects belong entirely to Eleanor. This is one of them. Appointments, thoughts, reminders, tiny fragments of self preserved between obligations. For a moment she opens it, only briefly, a quiet pause amid preparation. The room falls still. Sarah busies herself elsewhere. The fireplace crackles. Outside, distant carriage wheels move through Kensington. Eleanor reads a previous entry. Nothing dramatic. A note regarding Clara's studies. A reminder about a charity committee. An observation about weather. Ordinary things. Yet ordinary things become the texture of a life. She closes the diary. The moment passes. The mirror awaits. Rest pocket. The room is silent except for the faint sounds of the house beyond. Eleanor stands before the glass, not examining beauty, not admiring fashion, simply looking. The reflection shows a respectable Victorian woman exactly as society expects to see her. Hair arranged, corset fitted, silk gown positioned perfectly, every detail controlled, every detail prepared. Yet she alone remembers the stages beneath. The cold morning air, the tightening laces, the pressure around her ribs, the weight of layered fabric, the effort hidden inside the final appearance. Here is where people get this wrong. They often see Victorian elegance and imagine ease. What they are actually seeing is work. Work transformed into appearance. Discomfort transformed into presentation. Effort transformed into seeming effortlessness. Perhaps that is one reason the illusion proved so powerful. The labor disappeared behind the result. A servant knocks softly. A message has arrived from below. The day's obligations are gathering. Correspondence awaits. Accounts require attention. Appointments must be considered. Charitable responsibilities must be managed. The body has now been prepared. The appearance completed. And in the world Eleanor inhabits, appearance functions as a kind of social currency. Soon it will be exchanged within the wider economy of reputation, obligation, and respectability that governs so much of Victorian life. For now, she takes up her gloves. The bedroom door opens, and the next system of the day begins. The moment Eleanor leaves her bedroom, the nature of her work changes. The physical labor of preparation is complete. The administrative labor begins. The distinction matters. Victorian culture often described women of Eleanor's class as ladies of leisure. The phrase survives today, carrying images of idle afternoons, decorative accomplishments, and abundant free time. Yet if one follows Eleanor closely through the late morning hours, a different reality emerges. Not factory labor, not professional labor, but labor nonetheless. Invisible work, organizational work, work that leaves few physical traces yet consumes enormous quantities of attention. As she descends the staircase once more, the house is fully awake. Sunlight spills through hallway windows. The scent of tea and toast lingers from breakfast. Somewhere in the nursery, Rose is resisting a lesson with determined 4-year-old logic. Thomas is arguing passionately about something involving soldiers, maps, or imaginary adventures. Clara sits more quietly, though not necessarily more willingly, with her studies. The sounds drift through the house like familiar weather. Comforting, predictable, alive, Eleanor pauses briefly at the landing. From here she can observe several worlds simultaneously. The family world, the servant world, the social world waiting beyond the front door. For a moment she simply listens. A small pleasure, an ordinary one. No one is asking anything of her during these few seconds. Then the moment ends. Responsibility resumes. Her destination is the morning room. This space receives less attention than the drawing room, yet it serves a critical function within the household. Brightly lit and practical, it is where much of the day's management occurs. A writing desk stands near the window. An inkstand waits upon its polished surface. Several letters have already been placed neatly beside it. A tray of correspondence. Victorian society ran on paper. Letters carried friendships, invitations, business, news, family obligations, requests, apologies, introductions, recommendations without telephones. A remarkable amount of life traveled through envelopes. And here we must be precise. Writing letters was not an occasional activity. For someone in Eleanor's position, it formed a substantial portion of daily administration. She settles into the chair. The leather feels cool through the layers of her gown. The desk bears faint marks from years of use. Tiny scratches, small ink stains, evidence of countless decisions already made here. The first letter concerns a charity committee. The second involves arrangements for an upcoming visit. The third comes from a cousin in Surrey. The fourth requires a response regarding church fundraising. Each seems minor individually. Together, they create a network of obligations. The word obligations appears frequently in Victorian correspondence. For good reason. Relationships required maintenance. Failure to answer a letter could be interpreted as neglect. Delaying a reply too long might appear discourteous. Accepting one invitation while declining another could generate social complications. The process resembles maintaining dozens of delicate threads simultaneously. One forgotten thread may not matter. Several forgotten threads begin to weaken the fabric. Eleanor opens the first envelope. The paper crackles softly. She reads, considers, then reaches for her pen. Writing itself is slower than modern communication. The pen must be dipped, the ink controlled. Words considered carefully. Crossed out sentences are undesirable. A well-written letter reflects character. The act requires concentration. The room grows quiet. Only the occasional scratching of nib against paper breaks the silence. Perhaps you have experienced something similar yourself. A morning disappearing into messages. Replies generating further replies. Questions generating further questions. Tasks multiplying as they are completed. The technology has changed. The sensation remains familiar. One letter becomes 3. 3 becomes 6. 6 become 12. The work expands. By 11 o'clock, a small stack of completed correspondence rests beside her, yet another stack remains untouched. This detail matters more than it appears. Modern observers sometimes imagine Victorian social life as spontaneous. In reality, much of it required planning. Visits had to be coordinated, events scheduled, guests managed, introductions arranged, information distributed. Behind every apparently effortless gathering existed administrative effort, and much of that effort fell upon women. The door opens quietly. Mrs. Whitmore enters. Immediately the atmosphere shifts. Different forms of work are about to intersect. Mrs. Whitmore carries a ledger, substantial, worn, practical, not decorative. This book contains the financial pulse of the household. The housekeeper takes a seat opposite Eleanor. Together they begin reviewing accounts. And here the myth of the idle Victorian lady encounters another problem. Money. Every prosperous household functioned as a small organization. Food arrived constantly. Coal disappeared constantly. Clothing required maintenance constantly. Servants needed wages regularly. Nothing managed itself. Mrs. Whitmore opens the ledger. The pages contain rows of figures written in careful handwriting. Deliveries, expenses, suppliers, inventories, payments. The language may appear domestic. The skills are managerial. Coal purchases are discussed first. A respectable Kensington household might consume several tons annually. During winter months especially, fireplaces devoured fuel at astonishing rates. The coal bill alone could exceed $40 per year, a significant expense, equivalent to many months of a servant's wages. Next comes food. The family table appears effortlessly supplied. Reality looks different. Bread, tea, butter, eggs, meat, vegetables, fruit, preserves, milk. Every item carries a cost. Every cost requires tracking. Mrs. Whitmore notes recent price increases for certain goods. Eleanor listens carefully. Questions follow. Adjustments considered. Decisions made. The conversation resembles a meeting between a chief executive and an operations manager. The titles differ. The functions do not. Here is where people get this wrong. Victorian household management was not merely housekeeping. At this level, it was administration, budgeting, personnel management, procurement, logistics, quality control, risk management. The vocabulary is modern. The responsibilities are not. The ledger turns another page. Servant payroll. Now individual people appear behind the figures. Sarah Finch, the cook, the housemaid, the nursemaid. Each wage represents a life. A family perhaps supported elsewhere. Future plans. Personal worries. Human stories. A prosperous household might spend $120 to $200 annually on domestic staff. Maintaining comfort required continual investment. Eleanor studies the numbers, not because she enjoys accounting, few people truly do, but because neglect creates problems. The smallest oversight can become surprisingly expensive. A forgotten bill, an unnecessary purchase, a delayed payment. Good management often appears invisible precisely because problems never develop. The discussion continues, then pauses. Mrs. Whitmore departs. The ledger closes. Silence returns. Eleanor leans back slightly. Mental fatigue arrives differently from physical fatigue. No aching muscles, no visible strain, simply the gradual sensation of attention being consumed. 100 small decisions leave their mark. The clock advances toward noon. Outside the window, Kensington grows busier. Carriages move through the streets. Deliveries arrive. Shopkeepers conduct business. London's enormous machinery continues turning. Inside, Eleanor opens her pocket diary. A brief private moment. Another rest pocket. The diary is small enough to disappear easily into a drawer, large enough to preserve fragments of thought. She turns several pages. Appointments, reminders, names, committee meetings, calling schedules, birthdays, charity obligations. The entries create an interesting picture, not of leisure, but of management. She hesitates before adding a new note. A tiny pause, the sort of pause no historian could ever fully recover. What exactly passes through her mind? Perhaps concern over an upcoming social event, perhaps worry about Clara's future, perhaps simple exhaustion. The entry itself remains practical, yet behind practicality lives a person. The diary closes. A distant bell sounds below. Lunch preparations have begun. The day continues moving forward. Before rising, Eleanor glances again at the correspondence awaiting attention. There is always more. More letters, more requests, more obligations. Respectability generates paperwork. Friendship generates paperwork. Charity generates paperwork. Family generates paperwork. The administrative current never entirely stops. And yet another misconception deserves correction. Not all this work was imposed. Some of it carried genuine meaning. The charity letters mattered because people needed help. The family letters mattered because relationships mattered. The educational decisions mattered because children mattered. Responsibility could be exhausting, but responsibility could also be purposeful. That contradiction sits at the heart of Eleanor's life. She is constrained by expectations. She also derives identity from fulfilling them. The two realities coexist. As noon approaches, a fresh delivery arrives at the house. Calling cards, small rectangles of stiff paper, simple objects, powerful tools. Victorian society treated calling cards almost as a form of social currency. Names printed neatly, addresses included, visits recorded, connections maintained. A card left at the correct house could strengthen a relationship. A missed call might weaken one. Entire networks of acquaintance operated through these tiny pieces of paper. Eleanor turns several cards over thoughtfully. Each represents a future obligation, a future visit, a future conversation, another thread within the social web surrounding her. The administrative work of the morning has achieved something important. Not completion. Victorian life rarely offered completion. Instead, it has created order. Schedules clarified, accounts reviewed, correspondence answered, responsibilities organized. The machinery continues functioning. But administration inevitably leads outward. Letters become meetings. Calling cards become visits. Household management becomes public performance. Soon, Eleanor will leave the relative privacy of her desk and step into the wider network of relationships that governs respectable society. And there, Beyond the walls of the Ashcroft home, reputation itself is constantly in motion. The morning's paperwork has accomplished its purpose. Names have been recorded, letters answered, obligations organized, appointments clarified, yet paper can only carry a person so far. Eventually, Victorian society requires physical presence. A letter may introduce a relationship, a visit sustains it, and shortly after noon, Eleanor finds herself preparing to enter the wider social world. The transition begins in the hallway. A servant brings her parasol. Another retrieves gloves. The familiar pair of kid gloves rests briefly in her hands before she begins fastening them one button at a time. Such a small action, such a revealing one. The gloves protect against dust and weather, certainly, but they also signal something else. Respectability, self-control, membership in a particular social world. The final button slips into place. The transformation feels complete. Public Eleanor has arrived. Outside, Kensington hums with activity. The front door opens. A warm breeze carries traces of horse traffic, coal smoke, damp stone, and distant cooking fires. Sunlight glances off carriage windows. Delivery wagons rumble past. Well-dressed pedestrians navigate pavements lined with prosperous homes. The city feels alive, not chaotic. Organized, like a vast network operating according to rules that most participants understand instinctively. Eleanor descends the front steps. A carriage waits nearby. The horse flicks its tail impatiently. Leather harnesses creak softly. Metal fittings catch the light. Transportation in Victorian London existed on a spectrum. Working people walked enormous distances. Others relied upon omnibuses. The wealthy maintained private carriages. Many families, including the Ashcrofts, occupied a middle position. Private transport for some occasions, handsome cabs and hired vehicles for others. Practicality often determined the choice. Today's route requires several stops. A hired carriage will suffice. The driver receives instructions. The door closes. The carriage lurches gently forward. And here, for the first time today, Eleanor finds herself briefly alone. A moving rest pocket. The city passes outside the window. Rows of terraced houses, shop fronts, church spires, children hurrying along pavements, tradesmen carrying goods. The rhythmic sound of hooves creates a strangely soothing pattern. For a few minutes, no one requires anything from her. No letters, no household accounts, no conversations demanding attention, only observation, only movement. The sensation is surprisingly pleasant. Then reality returns. Because the destination approaching ahead is not merely a house, it is a social environment. And Victorian social environments required work. The first call of the afternoon appears simple enough. A visit to an acquaintance, tea, conversation, polite company. Yet appearances can be deceptive. Here's where people get this wrong. Victorian visiting was not casual. It operated according to a remarkably intricate system of etiquette. Calling hours existed. Introductions mattered. Reciprocity mattered. Timing mattered. A visit that lasted too long could become burdensome. A visit too brief might appear dismissive. Arriving unexpectedly could create embarrassment. Entire books existed explaining proper conduct. The carriage slows before an elegant residence. A servant opens the door. Eleanor steps onto the pavement. The sequence unfolds almost automatically. Front steps, doorbell, waiting, introduction, entry. Each stage follows established conventions. Architecture itself supports the ritual. Visitors move from public street to private household through carefully controlled transitions. Street, gate, steps, door, hallway, drawing room. Each space gradually increases intimacy. A servant escorts Eleanor inside. The drawing room awaiting her resembles many others throughout prosperous London. Comfortable chairs, decorative tables, photographs, books, ornaments, flowers, yet every room also communicates information. Taste, income, education, connections, the objects speak, even when their owners do not. Conversation begins. At first, the topics seem harmless. Weather, family, recent events, charitable activities, mutual acquaintances. But beneath the surface, something more interesting occurs. Information circulates. Names appear. News spreads. Reputations evolve. Social society functions partly as an information network. People exchange observations constantly. Who attended an event? Who declined an invitation? Whose daughter is excelling in her studies? Whose son recently entered university? Who may be facing financial difficulties? What appears to be pleasant conversation often serves additional purposes. Social intelligence gathering, community maintenance, relationship management. The process feels remarkably modern. Only the technology differs. Instead of social media feeds, there are drawing rooms. Instead of digital profiles, there are personal reputations. Instead of instant messages, there are visits and letters. Human behavior remains surprisingly familiar. The conversation continues. Then, quite unexpectedly, Lady Harrington arrives. Her entrance alters the atmosphere immediately. Not dramatically, subtly, yet everyone notices. Lady Harrington occupies an interesting position within Eleanor's life. Friend, competitor, ally, rival, the categories overlap. Victorian society often produced relationships that resisted simple definition. Lady Harrington is intelligent, observant, charming, and fully aware of her social standing. She possesses the rare ability to deliver a compliment that sounds entirely sincere, while simultaneously reminding listeners of her own accomplishments. Not an easy skill, not an accidental one. Eleanor greets her warmly. The warmth is genuine, so is the caution. Both women understand the rules. Conversation becomes slightly more sophisticated, more careful, more strategic. The audience should notice something important here. Neither woman is being dishonest. Neither woman is being manipulative. Rather, both are participating in a social performance expected by their world. Observation becomes work. Diplomacy becomes work. Maintaining harmony becomes work. Victorian society rewarded those who mastered these skills. The penalties for failure could be significant. An awkward remark, a perceived insult, a forgotten courtesy. Small mistakes sometimes traveled astonishing distances through respectable circles. The visit concludes successfully. Gloves are retrieved, farewells exchanged, future plans hinted at, promises made. The carriage awaits outside once more. As Eleanor settles into her seat, she feels a familiar sensation, relief. Not because the visit was unpleasant, because it required effort. Social effort. The kind that leaves no visible mark. The city begins moving past the window again. The next destination involves charity work. Another sphere where Victorian women exercised influence, another sphere often misunderstood. Many charitable organizations depended heavily upon women like Eleanor. Committees met regularly, funds were raised, supplies organized, visits conducted, records maintained. Benevolent work demanded substantial administration. The charitable meeting occupies part of the afternoon. Several women gather around a table. Documents appear. Lists are reviewed. Needs are discussed. Allocations considered. The scene feels surprisingly businesslike because in many respects, it is. Victorian women excluded from many formal professions often developed significant organizational expertise through charitable work. Budgets required management. Projects required coordination. Personnel required supervision. One could argue that these committees functioned as alternative training grounds for leadership, though society rarely described them in those terms. This detail matters more than it appears. Public narratives often portrayed respectable women as passive participants in history. Reality proves considerably more complicated. Their influence frequently operated through unofficial channels. Households, schools, churches, charities, social networks. Entire systems functioned partly because women organized them. The meeting concludes. More names, more responsibilities, more future obligations. The pattern repeats. As afternoon progresses, another call awaits. Then another. Calling cards exchanged, introductions managed, relationships reinforced, the network expands and strengthens. Victorian society resembles a web. Every person occupies a position. Every interaction alters connections slightly. Status depends not merely upon wealth, but upon placement within that web. And status possesses tangible value. A strong reputation opens doors. Introductions create opportunities. Connections provide information. Isolation carries costs. As one observer noted during the period, society often operated through who knew whom. The principle remains recognizable today. Only the mechanisms have evolved. By late afternoon, fatigue begins accumulating. Not physical exhaustion, something subtler. The effort of continual observation, the effort of remembering names, the effort of navigating expectations. Eleanor experiences a moment familiar to many people. She worries briefly whether she answered a question correctly earlier, whether a remark sounded appropriate, whether an obligation has been forgotten. The concern lasts only seconds. Still, it appears. A small human observation. A reminder that confidence and uncertainty often coexist. Outside, the city has begun changing character. The light softens, shadows lengthen, traffic patterns shift. The day moves steadily onward. One final stop remains. St. Mark's Parish, where Reverend Collins speaks with several community members regarding upcoming church activities. The Reverend embodies another important force within Victorian society. Morality. Not merely private morality. Public morality. Church attendance communicated respectability. Religious involvement strengthened social standing. Community expectations often flowed through institutions like this one. Reverend Collins greets Eleanor warmly. The conversation concerns practical matters. Events, fundraising, families requiring assistance. Yet beneath these topics lies a broader reality. Victorian society linked reputation and morality closely together. People were not judged solely by wealth. They were judged by perceived character, at least in theory. The distinction mattered, and maintaining the appearance of good character required continual effort. As Eleanor departs the church grounds, she pauses for a moment before entering the carriage. The air feels cooler now. The afternoon is fading toward evening. A faint breeze moves through nearby trees. For a few seconds, she simply stands and watches people passing along the street, workers returning home, children playing, tradesmen finishing deliveries, a city continuing its routines. The moment feels strangely grounding, because after an afternoon spent managing society, she is reminded that society consists of individual lives, individual concerns, individual hopes, individual worries. The web becomes human again. Then, the carriage door closes. the horse begins moving. Kensington unfolds outside the window. The visits are complete. The introductions made. The obligations advanced. The reputation maintained for another day. And as Eleanor travels homeward through the gathering afternoon light, a deeper realization begins to emerge. Beneath every elegant conversation, every polished drawing room, every carefully managed social interaction, lies another force shaping this world. Money, not merely wealth itself, but the systems of wages, expenses, purchases, and resources that make respectable life possible at all. Soon, the figures hidden beneath performances will come into view. The carriage rolls steadily through Kensington as the afternoon begins its slow descent toward evening. Outside the window, London appears prosperous. Elegant houses, well-dressed pedestrians, shop fronts displaying imported goods from across the empire, carriages moving between appointments. Everything suggests confidence, success, stability, yet appearances can be misleading. A respectable Victorian household often resembled a theater production. Visitors saw the performance. Only those behind the scenes understood the cost of keeping it running. As Eleanor watches the city pass beyond the glass, her thoughts drift toward the figure she reviewed earlier with Mrs. Whitmore, not because numbers fascinate her. Few people spend their afternoons dreaming about ledgers, but because numbers possess a peculiar power. They reveal realities that appearances sometimes conceal. And here we must be precise. The Ashcroft family is wealthy, but they are not infinitely wealthy. Victorian respectability operated within financial limits. Even prosperous households balanced competing priorities. Every pound spent in one place became unavailable elsewhere. Every decision carried consequences. The carriage turns onto a familiar street. Soon, Eleanor is climbing the front steps of her own home once again. The hallway welcomes her with the familiar scent of polished wood and coal smoke. Somewhere above, Rose is laughing. Somewhere below, preparations for the evening meal have already begun. The house feels comfortable, lived in, secure, yet comfort itself has a price. This detail matters more than it appears. A great many Victorian households lived in constant proximity to financial anxiety, even when they appeared successful from the outside. The fear was not necessarily poverty. The fear was decline, losing status, losing security, losing the delicate balance that made respectable life possible. Eleanor removes her gloves. A servant takes her parasol. The social world remains outside. Now she enters another system, the economic system hidden beneath daily life. By 5 o'clock, she has joined Mrs. Whitmore once again. The housekeeper arrives carrying the household account books. Not glamorous, not decorative, merely practical. Yet these ledgers contain some of the most revealing information in the house. The two women settle near the window. Late afternoon sunlight spills across the pages. Dust particles drift through golden beams of light. Outside, distant carriage wheels echo faintly along the street. Inside, the mathematics of Victorian life begins. The first figure concerns income. Henry Ashcroft's legal practice currently generates approximately $2,500 per year. In today's purchasing power, the amount would place the family comfortably within an affluent professional class. Enough for servants, enough for education, enough for social participation, enough for comfort, but not enough to ignore expenses. Many modern people assume that a household earning such a sum would accumulate wealth effortlessly. The reality proves considerably more complicated. Income enters. Expenses immediately begin carrying it away. Let us follow the money. step by step. The process reveals far more than broad descriptions ever could. First come the servants. The household employs several domestic workers. Mrs. Whitmore earns approximately $35 annually. Sarah Finch receives around $22. The cook earns roughly $30. Other servants receive smaller sums depending upon position and experience. Together, wages alone consume well over $150 each year, and wages represent only part of the cost. The household must also provide accommodation. Meals, laundry, lighting, heating, the actual expense rises significantly beyond salary figures. Invisible labor carries visible costs. The page turns. Coal, the black fuel powering Victorian life. Coal heats rooms, heats water, supports cooking, drives industry, shapes cities. Without coal, 19th century London simply cannot function. The Ashcroft house consumes an astonishing quantity. Fireplaces operate throughout much of the year. Winter demands even more. Annual coal bills can approach 45. The number appears modest at first glance, until one remembers that many working families survive on less than that amount for months. A single household fireplace represents privilege. Several fireplaces represent substantial privilege. Yet privilege must be purchased repeatedly. Coal burned yesterday cannot be burned tomorrow. Every fire consumes future money. Mrs. Whitmore notes recent fluctuations in price. Eleanor listens carefully. The discussion resembles a meeting between business partners reviewing operating costs, because in many respects that is precisely what it is. Victorian households function as economic institutions. The vocabulary differs. The reality does not. The next category concerns food. Here the numbers become surprisingly large. Bread arrives almost daily. Milk arrives daily. Tea arrives constantly. Meat appears regularly. Fruit, vegetables, preserves, butter, eggs, sugar, flour, and countless smaller purchases accumulate steadily. A prosperous household may spend $250 to $350 annually feeding family members, servants, and guests. The audience should pause and consider that. Food often consumes more resources than many people expect. Hospitality alone adds considerable expense. Visitors require refreshments. Dinner guests require meals. Social obligations frequently appear upon dining tables. A woman hoping to maintain respectable relationships cannot entirely separate reputation from hospitality. The two become intertwined. The figures continue. Education, Clara's studies, Thomas's future schooling. Books, tutors, materials, educational expenses represent investment rather than consumption. Victorian parents understood this clearly. Education purchased opportunity, or at least the possibility of opportunity. The cost was substantial, yet failing to provide it carried consequences of its own. And then there is clothing, the category capable of surprising even wealthy families. A silk gown costing $8, a quality bonnet, kid gloves, shoes, shawls, undergarments, repairs, seasonal replacements, laundry. Fashion did not merely consume money, it consumed money continuously. The morning's dressing ritual now acquires new meaning. Every petticoat represented expense. Every corset represented expense. Every ribbon represented expense. Even maintaining cleanliness required spending. A well-managed wardrobe might consume 100 or more annually. The numbers accumulate. Slowly, relentlessly, here is where people get this wrong. They often imagine Victorian consumption as extravagance. In reality, much of it functioned as social signaling. A respectable appearance communicated stability. Competence, belonging, failure to meet expectations could invite judgment. Modern professionals understand similar pressures. Business attire, professional grooming, appropriate presentation. The specifics differ. The principle remains recognizable. Mrs. Whitmore turns another page. Charity subscriptions, church donations, community obligations. An interesting category, because these expenditures are technically voluntary, yet not entirely. A family occupying the Ashcrofts' position is expected to contribute. The amount matters. The consistency matters. The visibility matters. Charity becomes both moral action and social expectation. Victorian society rarely separated the two completely. Eleanor studies the figures thoughtfully. A tiny line appears between her brows, not dramatic concern, merely concentration, then something more. A familiar human emotion, worry small, manageable, yet genuine. Because despite all the evidence of prosperity surrounding her, uncertainty never disappears entirely. What if Henry becomes ill? What if legal work declines? What if unexpected expenses arise? What if investments perform poorly? Such thoughts rarely dominate her mind. Still, they visit occasionally. The possibility of loss shadows even comfortable lives, perhaps especially comfortable lives. The more one possesses, the more there is to protect. The room grows quiet. Only the ticking clock interrupts the silence. Late afternoon sunlight begins shifting across the floorboards. The house seems calmer than earlier. The children are occupied elsewhere. Servants continue their duties. For a few minutes, Eleanor sits alone after Mrs. Whitmore departs. A ledger remains open before her. Numbers fill the page. Rows and columns, pounds, shillings, pence. At first glance, the figures appear impersonal, yet every number represents a human story. A servant's wage, a coal miner's labor, a seamstress's work, a teacher's instruction, a farmer's harvest. Money connects people who never meet. Victorian London depends upon countless invisible relationships. The realization encourages reflection. This becomes today's quiet rest pocket. The room is still. The window stands slightly open. A breeze stirs the curtain. Distant sounds drift inward from the street. Eleanor closes the ledger, then looks out toward Kensington. The city stretches beyond view. Millions of lives, millions of different realities. And suddenly the Ashcroft household appears within a broader context. Because while Eleanor reviews expenses, another woman somewhere in London worries about paying rent. While Eleanor considers coal prices, another family wonders whether they can afford enough coal at all. While Eleanor debates educational costs, thousands of children receive little education whatsoever. Victorian society contains extraordinary inequalities. This detail matters enormously. The average domestic servant might earn 15 to 25 annually. A skilled laborer perhaps 70 to 100. A professional household earning 2,500 occupies an entirely different economic universe. Yet those worlds remain connected. The servant economy links them. Trade links them. Labor links them. The elegant drawing room depends upon work occurring far beyond its walls. A maid cleaning silver. A miner extracting coal, a dock worker unloading cargo, a seamstress sewing late into the evening. Comfort rarely exists in isolation. The thought lingers, not as guilt, not as political analysis, simply as awareness, an understanding that every comfortable object carries a history. The coal scuttle beside the fireplace, the silk gown hanging upstairs, the silver tea service in the dining room. Each arrived through networks of labor stretching across Britain and beyond. The audience should feel the scale widening. We began with household accounts. Now we glimpse an entire economy. Person, household, city, society, history, then back again. A knock sounds softly at the door. The spell breaks. A servant announces that Henry has returned home. The information produces a small but noticeable change in Eleanor's expression. Relief, perhaps. Affection, certainly. Whatever their differences, the household's financial foundation rests largely upon his professional success. Soon they will speak, perhaps briefly, perhaps at greater length. Money is rarely absent from married life. Victorian marriages proved no exception. Yet as evening approaches, another realization emerges. Numbers explain much. They explain coal, wages, budgets, rent, income, expenses, but they do not explain everything. No ledger can fully capture physical discomfort. No account book records private fears. No budget measures exhaustion. The human body follows rules of its own. And as the afternoon light begins fading from the room, attention gradually shifts from economics toward something more personal. The realities of health, fatigue, mortality, and the fragile physical existence that wealth could soften, but never entirely control. The ledgers have been closed. The figures have been considered. The coal bills, wages, household budgets, and endless calculations that support respectable life have revealed themselves. Yet money, for all its influence, encounters limits. It can purchase comfort. It can hire assistants. It can provide access to physicians and medicines, but it cannot fully protect a person from the realities of the human body. And in Victorian Britain, the body remained far more vulnerable than many modern people realize. The late afternoon sun hangs low over Kensington. Its light has softened, losing the sharp brightness of midday. The house itself seems quieter now. Lessons are ending. Servants continue preparing the evening meal. The city outside maintains its constant rhythm, but Eleanor feels an increasing desire to step outdoors. Not for society, not for obligation, for air, for movement, for a few moments away from rooms, ledgers, and expectations. She passes through the rear portion of the house and enters the garden. The transition is surprisingly soothing. First comes the hallway, then the back door, then the stone path. The temperature changes immediately. The air feels fresher. The scent of coal smoke fades slightly, replaced by damp earth, clipped greenery, and summer flowers. Birdsong drifts from somewhere beyond a neighboring wall. The city remains nearby, yet softened. Filtered, the garden is not large. Urban Kensington rarely permits grand estates, yet it has been carefully maintained. A narrow lawn, flower beds, a few shrubs, a bench positioned near the far wall. Nothing extravagant. And yet to Eleanor it often feels like freedom. The garden has become one of the recurring refuges of her life, a place where observation replaces performance, a place where she can simply exist for a few moments. This detail matters more than it appears. Victorian women of Eleanor's class often possessed very little truly private space. Their homes belonged partly to their families, partly to servants, partly to guests, partly to society itself. The garden offers something different, a temporary escape from being observed. She begins walking slowly along the path. The gravel crunches softly beneath her boots. Her silk gown moves differently outdoors. The fabric brushes against leaves and catches occasional breezes. The corset remains present. Its pressure has not disappeared. Hours of wear have transformed awareness into familiarity. Yet familiarity is not the same thing as comfort. A slight tightness persists beneath her ribs, a reminder of the morning's preparations, a reminder that respectability often leaves physical traces. As she walks, another reality of Victorian life comes into view. Health, or more accurately, uncertainty. Modern people often underestimate how precarious health remained in the 19th century. Medicine was advancing rapidly. New discoveries appeared regularly. Hospitals improved. Surgical techniques evolved, yet many dangers remained poorly understood. Infection, childbirth complications, tuberculosis, pneumonia, influenza, countless illnesses that today might be treatable could still become life-threatening. Even among wealthy families, wealth improved survival odds. It did not guarantee them. A breeze stirs the branches overhead. Eleanor pauses beside a rose bush. The flowers are beginning to bloom. She reaches out briefly and touches a petal. Soft, cool, fragile, the sensation draws her thoughts toward Rose, her youngest child, 4 years old. Healthy, energetic, full of questions. Yet Eleanor belongs to a generation that understands something modern parents often do not. Children sometimes disappear. Victorian families lived alongside mortality in ways that shaped daily life. Infant mortality had improved considerably by the 1880s, yet remained significant. Many parents experienced loss directly. Others knew relatives, neighbors, or friends who had. Entire households carried memories of absent children. The awareness lingered quietly beneath ordinary routines. One reason Victorian parents often seemed protective was because uncertainty surrounded them constantly. Life could change quickly. A cough, a fever, an infection, a few seemingly minor symptoms, then fear. The path curves gently toward the bench. Eleanor sits. The wood is slightly warm from the afternoon sun. For a few moments, she simply watches the garden. This is today's planned rest pocket. No letters, no accounts, no social obligations, only solitude. The city continues beyond the walls. Yet here, time seems slower. Perhaps you can imagine sitting beside her, not speaking, just listening. A distant carriage, a bird, the rustle of leaves, the soft sounds of a Victorian afternoon settling toward evening. Moments like these rarely appear in official records. No ledger preserves them. No newspaper reports them. Yet they often matter most. Human beings require pauses. The Victorians were no exception. After several minutes, Eleanor rises again. Movement feels easier than stillness. The body has its own preferences, and increasingly she has become aware of hers. The subject of women's health occupied an unusual position within Victorian society. People discussed it constantly, yet often indirectly. Medical understanding remained incomplete. Social conventions discouraged open conversation, and many women endured discomforts they rarely described publicly. The corset provides one example. Contrary to popular myth, most women did not spend every day fainting dramatically, but long-term restrictive clothing could certainly produce discomfort. Back strain, breathing limitations, digestive complaints, physical fatigue. Many women accepted such experiences as ordinary, not because they enjoyed them, because they had little basis for comparison. A condition experienced by nearly everyone often becomes invisible. The same principle operates in every century. The garden gate clicks softly. A servant appears, not with an emergency, simply a message. Dr. Pembroke has arrived. The family physician. His presence is expected. A routine consultation has been arranged. Eleanor returns toward the house. The route reverses. Garden, path, door, hallway, interior warmth. The familiar architecture closes around her once again. Dr. Pembroke waits in a sitting room. He is a man in his late 50s, carrying the calm confidence that decades of medical practice often produce. His profession occupies an interesting place in Victorian society. Physicians commanded respect, yet their abilities remained constrained by the knowledge available at the time. Many treatments appear strange to modern eyes. Some proved effective, others less so. The doctor greets Eleanor warmly. The conversation begins with ordinary questions: sleep, energy, appetite, general well-being, nothing dramatic. Yet the discussion reveals much about Victorian health concerns. Exhaustion receives particular attention. The word appears frequently in 19th century medical writing. Not because people suddenly became tired, because physicians increasingly attempted to categorize and explain fatigue. The modern world often imagines Victorian women reclining dramatically upon fainting couches. Reality was more mundane. Many women were simply overworked, not always physically. Mentally, emotionally, socially, the effort required to maintain households, families, and reputations consumed energy. Dr. Pembroke asks about headaches. They are common. He asks about sleep, variable. He asks about nervous strain, a phrase Victorians used regularly. The conversation remains polite, measured, professional, yet beneath it lies something universal. The recognition that human beings possess limits, even highly capable ones. The consultation eventually turns toward broader family concerns: children's health, seasonal illnesses, vaccinations, recent outbreaks in parts of London. The physician's role extends beyond treating disease. He also provides reassurance, information, guidance, a trusted interpreter of uncertainty. This detail matters more than it appears. Medicine often serves psychological needs alongside physical ones. People seek understanding as much as treatment. The appointment concludes. A modest fee will later be recorded in household accounts, perhaps a guinea or two, depending upon circumstances. Not insignificant, yet affordable for families like the Ashcrofts. Again, wealth provides advantages: access, speed, expertise, but not certainty. Never certainty. As Dr. Pembroke departs, Eleanor finds herself thinking about childbirth. The thought arrives unexpectedly, perhaps triggered by the physician's presence, perhaps by seeing Rose earlier, perhaps by nothing at all. Memory rarely follows predictable paths. She has given birth 3 times, each experience different, each demanding, each carrying risks impossible to ignore. Modern medicine has transformed childbirth in countless ways. Victorian women lived in a different reality. Complications remained common. Mortality remained frighteningly real. Many women approached pregnancy with a mixture of hope and apprehension. The emotions existed simultaneously, joy and fear sharing the same space. History often summarizes such realities statistically, yet statistics become more meaningful when attached to people. To Eleanor, to her friends, to women sitting in drawing rooms throughout London, to countless mothers carrying private memories. The afternoon gradually surrenders to evening. Gas lamps will soon require lighting. Dinner preparations continue below stairs. The house is entering another phase of its daily rhythm. Eleanor moves toward a window overlooking the garden. The same garden where she sat only an hour earlier. The fading sunlight paints long shadows across the lawn. For a moment she studies the scene quietly. Health, exhaustion, mortality, the subjects sound heavy, yet they produce an unexpected result. Gratitude, not dramatic gratitude. Something gentler, awareness, an appreciation for ordinary health, precisely because it cannot be guaranteed. The audience should notice how the scale shifts. We began with the body, then medicine, then society, then family, then back to a single woman standing beside a window. Person, household, history, person, the cycle continues. Outside, evening approaches. Inside, life moves forward. The body remains a constant companion, sometimes reliable, sometimes fragile, always present. Yet beneath physical reality lies another territory entirely, a quieter territory. The world of thoughts, memories, curiosities, dreams, private frustrations. The inner life that no physician can measure and no ledger can record. And as the house settles into the softer light of evening, Eleanor gradually turns from the realities of the body toward the deeper and more mysterious landscape of the mind. The physician has departed. The conversation about health, exhaustion, and the uncertainties of the body fades gradually into the background of the evening. The house continues its familiar rhythm. Somewhere below, preparations for dinner proceed with practiced efficiency. A servant crosses a hallway carrying folded linens. The distant clatter of cookware rises briefly from the kitchen before disappearing again. Yet for perhaps the first time all day, Eleanor finds herself alone, truly alone, not merely unobserved for a moment, not simply between obligations, alone with her own thoughts. The opportunity is rare enough to feel precious. She moves quietly through the house, past the drawing room, past the staircase that has carried her between roles all day, past rooms associated with family, visitors, expectations, and responsibilities. Her destination lies near the rear of the second floor. The library. Victorian libraries often reveal more about a household than its finest furniture. Books communicate aspirations, interests, values, curiosities. A visitor examining a family's shelves could learn a remarkable amount without speaking to anyone at all. The Ashcroft Library is not enormous. This is not an aristocratic estate containing thousands of volumes. Yet, it is substantial. Several bookcases line the walls. Dark wood shelves support rows of leather-bound books whose spines glow softly in the fading light. History, poetry, travel writing, religious works, scientific studies, novels, biographies, reference volumes, the accumulated intellectual landscape of a prosperous Victorian family. The room possesses a distinctive smell: paper, leather, dust, polished wood, a faint trace of coal smoke drifting from the fireplace. Many readers know this scent immediately. It feels strangely comforting, as though ideas themselves possess an aroma. Eleanor closes the door behind her. The small click of the latch produces an immediate emotional effect. The world outside continues. But for a little while it remains outside. This is the longest solitude she has experienced all day. Perhaps 30 minutes. Perhaps a little more. Not much by modern standards. Enough to matter. This detail matters more than it appears. Victorian women often spent entire days surrounded by people: children, servants, visitors, family members. Social obligations. Privacy existed, but it was neither automatic nor abundant. Solitude frequently required intention, and so Eleanor protects it carefully when it arrives. A chair waits beside the window, the familiar window, one of the recurring boundaries in her life. Inside and outside, private and public, self and society. She settles into the chair. The upholstery compresses softly beneath her weight. Outside, evening sunlight bathes Kensington in warm gold. The city appears calmer than it did earlier. Carriages still move through the streets. Pedestrians still travel between destinations. Yet the pace has softened. The day is beginning to exhale. A book rests nearby, a novel borrowed from a friend several weeks earlier. Eleanor opens it. The pages make a delicate whispering sound. And for a time, she reads. Not because reading is productive, not because reading fulfills an obligation, not because reading improves her reputation, simply because she enjoys it, a surprisingly radical act. Many people assume Victorian women spent their intellectual lives in passivity. The reality is far more interesting. The 19th century witnessed an extraordinary expansion of reading culture. Publishing flourished, literacy increased, books became more accessible, magazines circulated widely, ideas traveled rapidly. Women read constantly. Some read privately, others participated in reading societies. Many exchanged recommendations through social networks. A household such as the Ashcrofts might spend 10 to 20 annually acquiring books and periodicals, not a trivial amount. A substantial investment in knowledge and culture. Eleanor turns another page, then another. Soon the room disappears. The library disappears. The house disappears. The peculiar magic of reading takes hold. She travels elsewhere. Another country, another life, another perspective. Every reader throughout history understands this sensation. The centuries change. The experience remains remarkably similar. A small smile appears unexpectedly. Not because anything dramatic has happened. A sentence has simply amused her. A tiny human moment. The sort that rarely survives in historical records. Yet surely it occurred thousands of times. Victorian women laughed at books, marked favorite passages, disagreed with authors, abandoned tedious novels halfway through. They were readers, not historical abstractions. Readers. After a while, she closes the book and gazes out the window. Her reflection appears faintly in the glass. Not strong enough to obscure the city beyond, just visible enough to create an interesting overlap. Eleanor and London occupying the same space, private thought and public world meeting upon the surface of a window pane. Her mind drifts. Reading often produces that effect. One idea leads quietly to another, and eventually she begins thinking about education, specifically her own. She was fortunate, more fortunate than many women. Her parents valued learning. She studied literature, languages, history, music, the accomplishments expected of a respectable young lady. Yet even as a girl, she occasionally sensed an invisible boundary. There were subjects considered appropriate, and subjects considered less appropriate. Certain ambitions encouraged, others discouraged. Curiosity itself sometimes encountered limits. The realization frustrated her. Though rarely enough for open rebellion, Victorian society excelled at teaching restraint. Children learned it early, especially daughters. A memory surfaces unexpectedly. She is 14 years old, seated beside a window in another house, another room, another life. A geography book open upon her lap. She remembers becoming fascinated by distant places she would probably never visit. India, Egypt, China, North America. The names themselves seemed magical. She spent an entire afternoon imagining journeys. The memory still warms her slightly, not because of where she imagined going, because of how intensely she wanted to know. Curiosity, such a simple word, such a powerful force. This detail matters enormously. Curiosity frequently survives where opportunity does not. Many Victorian women developed rich intellectual lives within structures that limited their public roles. They read, observed, reflected, corresponded, learned, thought deeply, even when society offered few formal avenues through which to express those abilities. The audience should pause here. History often divides people into categories: men and women, rich and poor, powerful and powerless, yet individual lives resist neat classifications. Eleanor possesses privilege. She also encounters restrictions. She enjoys comfort. She also experiences frustration. Both realities coexist. The contradiction forms part of her humanity. The library grows darker. The evening advances. A servant will soon light lamps. For now, natural light remains sufficient. She rises and walks slowly along the shelves. Her fingers trail across book spines. Names, authors, subjects, entire worlds compressed into rows of leather and paper. A particular volume catches her attention, a collection of essays discussing education and social change. She removes it carefully. The book feels substantial in her hands. Heavy, cool, physical ideas had weight in the 19th century. Literally, books occupied space, required storage, represented investment. A well-stocked library communicated status as effectively as elegant clothing. Knowledge itself possessed social value. Returning to her chair, Eleanor opens the volume. Several passages have been marked previously, not dramatically, just small pencil notes, occasional underlining, evidence of earlier conversations between reader and text. One sentence captures her attention again, a discussion of expanding educational opportunities for women. The argument remains cautious. Victorian reform often advanced cautiously. Yet the possibility is there. Change, small, incremental, real. Her thoughts drift toward Clara, 11 years old, standing at the threshold of adolescence. What opportunities will exist by the time Clara reaches adulthood? Will her daughter inherit the same limitations? Or slightly fewer? The question fascinates her. No clear answer exists. History rarely announces its intentions. People living through change seldom recognize its full significance. Yet something feels different. New schools are opening, new discussions are occurring, new possibilities are emerging. The future remains uncertain, but uncertainty contains hope as well as risk. The thought lingers, then fades. The room has grown noticeably dimmer. Outside, the first gas lamps are beginning to appear along the streets of London, small points of light punctuating the approaching darkness. A servant knocks softly before entering. The lamp-lighting routine must begin. Evening is arriving. The spell of solitude gradually dissolves. Responsibilities are returning. Yet, the time has mattered. The audience should understand why. Human beings require spaces where performance ends, where reputation becomes irrelevant, where curiosity can wander freely. The library provides such a space for Eleanor, not because it removes her from Victorian society, because it reminds her that she exists beyond it. The diary waiting upstairs, the books surrounding her, the private thoughts no visitor ever hears, these belong to her alone. Before leaving, she pauses once more beside the window. The city glows softly now. Gas lamps flicker. Carriages move through, gathering shadows. Kensington prepares for evening, and in the glass she catches her reflection again. A respectable Victorian woman, a wife, a mother, a hostess, an administrator, a charitable worker, a manager of reputations. All true, yet not complete. There is also the reader, the observer, the curious girl who once imagined distant worlds, the woman who still wonders about the future, the private self existing beneath public identities. And as darkness settles over London, that private self gradually gives way to a larger question. What does one life like Eleanor's reveal about the society that created it? How many unseen systems stand behind the ordinary details of her day? The answer requires us to step back from the individual and examine the wider structure itself, a structure built from class, labor, expectation, and hierarchy, a structure so familiar to its inhabitants that many scarcely noticed it at all. The library door closes softly behind Eleanor. Her hour of solitude has ended. The private reflections, the books, the memories of childhood curiosity all retreat gently into the background, as the household resumes its claim upon her attention. Yet before we follow her further into the evening, it is worth widening our view, because one life, no matter how carefully observed, can only reveal so much on its own. To truly understand Eleanor Ashcroft, we must understand the world that produced her. And here, we must be precise. Victorian society was not merely a collection of individuals. It was a structure, a hierarchy, a vast system of relationships, expectations, an invisible labor that shaped nearly every aspect of daily life. Most people living within that system rarely questioned it. The structure felt natural, permanent, as obvious as gravity. Yet from a distance its complexity becomes remarkable. Let us begin with the house itself. Throughout this documentary, we have moved through its rooms repeatedly. The bedroom, the drawing room, the nursery, the library, the kitchen below stairs, the servant corridors, the staircase connecting them all. But the house is more than architecture. It is an institution, a miniature society. Consider what happens every morning. A servant lights fires, another prepares breakfast, a maid cleans rooms, a housekeeper manages supplies, a nursemaid supervises children, a cook organizes meals, a lady's maid assists with dressing. Simultaneously, Eleanor manages correspondence, social obligations, education, household strategy, and family relationships. Each person performs a distinct function. Each role depends upon the others. The house resembles a small organization, perhaps even a small corporation. The terminology would have puzzled Victorians. The reality would not. The modern listener might recognize familiar structures: an operations department, a logistics department, personnel management, financial oversight, public relations, education, customer relations. The titles change. The human challenges remain remarkably similar. This detail matters more than it appears. The Victorian household was not merely a place where life occurred. It was a machine designed to produce stability. And like all machines, it required maintenance. The audience should notice something interesting. Nearly all visible comfort depends upon invisible labor. The polished silver, the clean linens, the warm rooms, the orderly schedules. Visitors notice the results. They rarely notice the work itself. This principle extends far beyond the Ashcroft home. In fact, it helps explain Victorian society as a whole. Outside Eleanor's house, another layer of labor unfolds. A milkman rises before dawn. A baker begins work while most of London sleeps. Coal miners descend underground. Dock workers unload ships arriving from across the world. Factory workers tend machinery. Railway employees coordinate schedules. Street sweepers clear roads. Thousands upon thousands of individuals perform tasks that allow the city to function. Most remain invisible to the people benefiting from their work. Comfort often hides its foundations. Here is where people get this wrong. When we imagine Victorian wealth, we tend to focus on luxury, the elegant dress, the carriage, the drawing room. Yet wealth is perhaps better understood as access to other people's labor. The coal in the fireplace arrives because someone mined it. The silk gown exists because someone manufactured it. The household runs because servants maintain it. The privilege is real. But so is the dependency. Eleanor possesses considerable authority within her household, yet her daily comfort depends upon countless people she will never meet. The relationship is reciprocal, though not equal. The audience should feel the scale widening. From one woman, to one household, to one city, to an entire economic system. Now let us examine class. Few forces shaped Victorian life more completely. Modern society certainly contained social classes. Victorian Britain elevated class into something approaching an organizing principle. Class influenced where people lived, whom they married, what education they received, how they spoke, how they dressed, what opportunities they encountered, even how they understood themselves. The distinctions could be surprisingly subtle. An experienced Victorian observer might identify someone's background from pronunciation alone, a slight accent, a particular phrase, a mannerism. Tiny signals communicated larger realities. The Ashcrofts occupy a comfortable position within this hierarchy, not aristocracy, not landed nobility, not the ancient elite whose wealth stretches back generations. Rather, they belong to the prosperous professional class, the world of barristers, physicians, successful merchants, and educated professionals, a group growing increasingly influential during the 19th century. Their status derives primarily from income and education rather than inherited titles. This difference matters because professional success requires continual maintenance. An aristocrat may inherit a title. Henry must continue earning a living. Professional respectability remains vulnerable. One poor year, one illness, one major setback, and stability can weaken. The result is an interesting paradox. The Ashcrofts enjoy substantial privilege, yet they also experience pressure to maintain standards, pressure to preserve appearances, pressure to remain successful. Status offers security. Status also creates expectations. The two travel together. As Eleanor walks through the hallway, she passes a servant carrying freshly folded linens. The moment lasts only seconds, yet it reveals another important reality. Gender Victorian society assigned different responsibilities to men and women with remarkable confidence. Many people believed these divisions reflected natural law. Men belonged primarily to public life. Women belonged primarily to domestic life. The distinction appeared straightforward. The reality rarely was. Henry's professional world certainly exists outside the home. Courtrooms, offices, clients, legal arguments, public authority. Eleanor's world centers more heavily upon the household. Yet calling her role passive would be deeply misleading. We have already seen why. She supervises, organizes, educates, coordinates, manages, influences, maintains. The labor differs. The labor remains labor. Perhaps the better question is not whether Victorian women worked. They clearly did. The better question is how society recognized their work. Often, it did not. Or rather, it described that work using different language. Duty, character, femininity, accomplishment, words that sometimes concealed the scale of effort involved. This detail matters enormously, because language shapes perception. A woman managing a household budget worth hundreds of pounds annually might be described simply as a good wife. The title sounds modest. The responsibilities were not. Imagine a modern manager overseeing multiple employees, substantial expenditures, educational planning, scheduling, hospitality, and public relations simultaneously. Most organizations would consider such skills valuable. Victorian society often treated them as ordinary female obligations. The contradiction is striking. Now let us pause briefly. The evening light has shifted again. Gas lamps are being lit throughout the house, one by one. A servant moves through rooms carrying flame. The process follows a sequence: lamp, adjustment, glass, flame, another lamp, another adjustment. The house gradually transforms. Golden pools of light appear against deepening shadows. The atmosphere changes. The audience should notice how physical systems and social systems overlap constantly. Lighting affects behavior. Architecture shapes movement. Clothing influences posture. Technology influences daily rhythms. Nothing exists in isolation. Victorian life consists of interconnected systems, and perhaps no system proves more important than expectation. Expectation governs nearly everything: how a mother should behave, how a husband should provide, how children should learn, how servants should serve, how guests should visit, how communities should judge. The rules often remain unwritten, yet everyone understands them, or tries to. The pressure can be exhausting, not because the rules are always cruel, because they are constant. Eleanor experiences this repeatedly throughout her day, at breakfast, in correspondence, during social calls, through charity work, even in moments of solitude. Expectation accompanies her everywhere, and she is hardly unique. A working-class mother in East London faces expectations of her own. A servant faces expectations. A physician faces expectations. A barrister faces expectations. Victorian society runs partly on mutual observation. People watch, people compare, people judge, not maliciously in every case, simply habitually. The process becomes self-reinforcing. This is where the documentary's central idea begins to reveal itself more clearly. The cost of respectability. The phrase does not refer only to money, though money certainly plays a role. It also refers to time, attention, emotional energy, self-discipline, performance. The higher a family climbs socially, the more elaborate the performance often becomes. Privilege brings comfort. Privilege also brings scrutiny. The two arrive together. A moment ago we stood beside Eleanor in the library. Now we can see the broader structure surrounding her, the servants below stairs, the professionals beyond the front door, the laborers across London, the expectations connecting them all. The house itself becomes a symbol, a place where class, labor, gender, wealth, and responsibility intersect. And yet, for all this analysis, we must not lose sight of something essential. The system is real. The people inside it are real too. Statistics cannot fully explain Eleanor. Neither can theories. Ultimately, history remains human. A mother helping her daughter, a servant completing a task, a husband returning home tired, a woman pausing beside a window to gather her thoughts. The individual never disappears completely. The structure shapes the person. The person still experiences life one moment at a time. And as evening settles more firmly over Kensington, we will soon return to those moments, to the lamplight, to the family, to the private hours that arrive after the public performances have ended. Because even within the most carefully maintained life, there comes a time when the doors close, the visitors depart, and the household begins to reveal its quieter self. The broader systems fade back into the background. Class, labor, hierarchy, expectation, all remain present, of course. They continue shaping the lives of everyone inside the Ashcroft household. Yet evening has a way of changing perspective. The great structures of society feel less immediate when lamps are glowing, family members are gathering, and the day is finally beginning to loosen its grip. Outside, Kensington settles into twilight. The last traces of sunlight linger above the rooftops. Horse traffic continues along the streets, though less urgently than before. Shopkeepers are closing doors. Curtains are being drawn. Gas lamps burn steadily in rows, turning ordinary streets into rivers of warm light. Inside the Ashcroft house, another transformation is underway. One by one, the lamps have been lit. The process is almost ceremonial. A servant enters each room carrying flame. The glass chimney is adjusted. The gas is opened. A soft hiss appears, then light, another lamp, another pool of brightness, another corner of darkness gently pushed back. By 6:30, the house glows with lamplight. The atmosphere feels entirely different from the bright efficiency of morning. The day has become softer, more intimate, more reflective. The public world is receding. The private world is returning. Eleanor stands for a moment near the staircase. The polished wood reflects golden light from nearby fixtures. This staircase has accompanied her throughout the day. This morning it carried her from private life into responsibility. Now it performs the reverse journey. The symbolism would never have occurred to her consciously, yet it exists nonetheless. The staircase is a bridge between roles, between performance and rest, between society and self. A familiar sound interrupts her thoughts, the front door opening. Henry has returned. Not dramatically, not with fanfare, merely the ordinary arrival of a husband at the end of a long working day. Yet the effect is noticeable. The household changes slightly. A missing piece returns to its place. Footsteps, voices, a servant accepting hat and coat. The routine unfolds with practiced familiarity. Marriage often appears differently in historical dramas than it did in daily life. Popular imagination prefers either romance or conflict. Reality usually occupies quieter territory. Shared routines, mutual dependence, small conversations, minor irritations, occasional affection, long familiarity. Eleanor meets Henry in the hallway. Their greeting is brief, warm, comfortable. The warmth comes not from novelty, but from repetition. Years of shared experience have created their own language, not spoken language, a different kind. Tiny expressions, half-finished observations, habits understood without explanation. Henry looks tired, the sort of tiredness that settles behind the eyes. Hours of legal arguments, documents, meetings, and decisions have left their mark. Eleanor notices immediately. She says nothing about it, not because she is unaware, because she understands. Another small human observation. A marriage often contains thousands of such moments. Dinner approaches. The household begins gathering. The dining room glows beneath gaslight. Silver reflects warm illumination. Glasses catch tiny sparks of brightness. Freshly prepared food arrives from below stairs through an invisible chain of labor, stretching from kitchen to table. Soup first. Then, meat, vegetables, bread, preserves, a pudding to follow. Nothing extravagant, nothing modest. A meal appropriate to the family's position. And here we must be precise. Dinner in prosperous Victorian households served multiple purposes. Certainly it provided nourishment. It also reinforced family structure, created routine, demonstrated hospitality, communicated status. Meals functioned as social institutions. The children arrive. Clara carries herself with increasing self-awareness these days. She watches adults more carefully than she once did, learning the rules, learning the expectations, preparing, whether consciously or not, for her eventual place in society. Thomas possesses less patience for observation. He prefers stories, questions, movement. At one point, he becomes so enthusiastic while describing an imagined military campaign that he nearly upsets a glass. The near disaster is avoided. Barely, Rose finds this enormously amusing. Her laughter spreads instantly around the table. Even Henry smiles. A tiny moment, gone almost immediately. Yet such moments often become the most treasured. History rarely records them. Families remember them. The conversation continues. School lessons, recent letters, news from acquaintances, community events. Nothing particularly historic, everything deeply human. This detail matters more than it appears. Most people in history spent remarkably little time participating in famous events. They spent far more time eating meals, telling stories, and talking with those they loved. The ordinary occupies most of every life. After dinner, the household disperses briefly. Children disappear toward evening routines. Servants clear the table. The house enters another phase of its nightly rhythm. Eleanor finds herself drawn toward the drawing room, one of the recurring spaces of the documentary. The room appears different now. During the day, it serves as a stage for social performance. Visitors, conversations, observation, judgment. Now it belongs only to the family. Its personality changes accordingly. The gas lamps cast a warm glow across wallpaper and furniture. Shadows gather in corners. The outside world feels pleasantly distant. A piano waits near one wall. Music occupied an important place in many Victorian homes. Not merely entertainment. Accomplishment, education, culture, connection. A respectable daughter was often expected to learn piano. Clara certainly has, though her enthusiasm varies depending upon the day. Tonight, she sits at the instrument willingly enough. The first notes emerge somewhat cautiously, then with greater confidence. The melody drifts through the room. Simple, elegant, familiar. Everyone listens. Even Rose remains unusually still. Music creates curious forms of togetherness. Conversation pauses. Thoughts wander. The room grows quieter without becoming silent. Eleanor leans back in her chair. The day's pressures seem farther away now. Not gone, merely distant. This becomes another rest pocket. The piano continues. The fire crackles softly. Lamplight reflects from polished surfaces. Perhaps you can imagine sitting nearby, listening, watching flames move behind the grate, hearing distant carriage wheels beyond the windows, a Victorian evening unfolding slowly around you. For several minutes, nobody needs anything. Nobody asks questions. Nobody requires decisions. The moment feels restorative. Then, as all moments do, it passes. Clara finishes. Applause follows. Modest but sincere, the children soon depart upstairs. Bedtimes wait for no one. Rose protests. Thomas negotiates. Clara accepts her fate with practiced dignity. The familiar rituals continue. Parents throughout history would recognize every stage. At last, the house grows quieter. The adults remain. The fire burns lower. The clock advances. 9 o'clock approaches. Henry and Eleanor find themselves alone together. Not entirely alone. Servants still move quietly through distant parts of the house, yet socially alone. A rarer condition than one might expect. For a time neither speaks. Comfortable silence, an achievement many long marriages eventually learn. Then conversation begins. Not grand declarations, not dramatic confessions, ordinary observations, a difficult client, a school matter involving Thomas, news regarding a mutual acquaintance, small topics. Yet beneath them lies something deeper, partnership. The audience should understand something important here. Victorian marriage often appears rigid from a distance, and certainly it operated within strong social expectations. Yet individual marriages varied enormously. Affection existed, friendship existed, dependence existed. Sometimes all three at once. Eleanor and Henry have spent years building a shared life. The relationship contains compromises, unspoken understandings, minor frustrations, quiet loyalties. Human complexity refuses easy categories. At one point, Henry mentions a case involving inheritance. The conversation briefly touches upon money. Not surprisingly, money influences almost every Victorian household. The matter is discussed calmly, practically then abandoned. Neither wishes to spend the evening reviewing accounts. The ledgers have already consumed enough of the day. A small smile passes between them. Another tiny moment. Another fragment of ordinary intimacy. Outside, the city continues settling toward night. Gas lamps illuminate emptying streets. The air beyond the windows grows cooler. The drawing room feels increasingly insulated from the world. Safe, contained, temporary, this detail matters enormously. The Ashcroft family enjoys comforts unavailable to most Londoners. Warmth, space, privacy, time for music, time for conversation. The privilege is real, yet so too is the melancholy hidden within it, because no amount of comfort entirely removes uncertainty. Children grow up, parents age, circumstances change. The future remains unwritten. Perhaps that is why evenings often encourage reflection. The mind relaxes enough to notice passing time. Eleanor feels this now. Not sadness exactly. Awareness. The kind that arrives quietly while watching firelight dance across a room. She glances toward a photograph album resting nearby. Images of family members. Moments already becoming memories. The sight produces a brief ache. Gentle, bittersweet, entirely human. The clock strikes 9:30. The sound resonates through the house. Another day, advancing toward its conclusion. The fire settles. The piano stands silent. The drawing room grows still. And as Eleanor sits beside the warm glow of lamplight, surrounded by family, marriage, and memory, her thoughts begin expanding beyond the boundaries of her own life, toward Clara, toward younger women, toward the changing society emerging beyond the walls of Kensington, toward a future that may look very different from the world she inherited, a future already beginning to announce itself in subtle ways, even as the 19th century drifts quietly toward its final years. The drawing room has grown quieter. The piano remains closed. The fire burns lower than before. Children sleep upstairs, or at least pretend to. Henry has retreated briefly to review papers that somehow followed him home from chambers. The servants continue their evening duties with the quiet efficiency that marks the final hours of a well-run household. For a little while, Eleanor is alone again. Not in the deep solitude of the library earlier. Something gentler. A pause between one part of the evening and the next. She rises from her chair and crosses the room slowly. The house feels different at night. Familiar spaces acquire new personalities beneath gaslight. The drawing room, so active during social gatherings, now seems reflective. The hallway feels longer. The staircase quieter. The sounds of the city arrive softened through layers of curtains, brick, and distance. Without quite intending to, Eleanor finds herself drawn toward a window. The window has accompanied us throughout this day. This morning, it framed the awakening city. This afternoon, it overlooked the garden. Now, it offers something different. A glimpse of London at night. Gas lamps glow beyond the glass. Their light pools upon pavements, damp from an earlier shower. A hansom cab rattles past before disappearing into darkness. Further away, dozens of other lamps stretch into the distance like a chain of small stars. The city seems calm, yet beneath that calm, change is everywhere. This becomes our final window reflection before the day begins moving toward its conclusion. Eleanor rests one hand lightly upon the curtain. The fabric feels thick and slightly rough beneath her fingertips, and as she looks outward, Her thoughts begin moving beyond her own household, beyond Kensington, beyond the familiar routines of a single day, toward the future. This detail matters more than it appears. People often imagine the Victorians as inhabitants of a fixed world, a world of certainty, a world where everyone understood their place. Yet the late 19th century was an age of enormous transformation. Many of the changes that would shape the 20th century were already underway. The people living through them simply could not see the full picture yet. History rarely announces itself while it is happening. It whispers first. The audience should notice something. Throughout this documentary, we have explored expectations, responsibilities, respectability, the invisible labor required to maintain a certain kind of life. Now we begin asking a different question. What happens when those expectations start changing? Not disappearing. Changing. The distinction is important. Eleanor thinks about Clara. Her eldest daughter is 11 years old. Still a child, yet not entirely. The transition toward womanhood has already begun. Lessons are becoming more serious, expectations more clearly defined, the future approaching more quickly than Eleanor sometimes wishes. And Clara's future may not look exactly like her mother's. The possibility feels both exciting and unsettling. Victorian Britain had long assumed that educational opportunities for girls should remain limited compared to those available to boys. Girls certainly learned. Many learned quite a lot, but their education often emphasized accomplishments rather than careers. Music, languages, literature, drawing, social refinement, useful skills for respectable life. Yet during Eleanor's lifetime, new possibilities had begun appearing. Schools for girls were expanding, women's colleges were emerging, universities were cautiously opening doors that had once remained firmly closed. The process was slow, uneven, contested, but it was real. And here we must be precise. The first women had already begun studying at institutions that previous generations could scarcely have imagined accessing. Not in vast numbers, not without obstacles, yet enough to signal change. A daughter born in 1876 might encounter opportunities unavailable to a daughter born in 1836. The difference mattered. Perhaps you can imagine how that would feel to spend your life inside one system while watching another begin to emerge, to recognize possibilities that did not exist when you were young, to wonder whether your children might inhabit a different world. The thought stays with Eleanor. Outside, another carriage passes beneath the gas lamps. The sound fades gradually. Then silence returns. The window reflects part of the room behind her. The city and the household overlap again in the glass. Private life and public history sharing the same frame. The audience should feel the scale widening. One woman, one daughter, one household. Then an entire society shifting beneath them. Education was only one example. Questions about women's roles were beginning to surface in new ways throughout Britain. Articles appeared in newspapers, essays circulated, meetings were held, conversations unfolded in drawing rooms, libraries, universities, and committee halls. Some people welcomed change, others resisted it. Most occupied positions somewhere in between. Human beings rarely divide themselves neatly into opposing camps. The future usually arrives through gradual negotiation. The word suffrage has not yet become a household term for everyone, yet the earliest foundations already exist. Campaigns advocating greater political participation for women are beginning to gather momentum. Small groups, limited influence. modest ambitions by later standards. Still, the seeds have been planted. This detail matters enormously, because major historical movements often appear surprisingly fragile at the beginning. When viewed from the future, they seem inevitable. When viewed from the present, they often appear uncertain. A few determined individuals, a few conversations, a few meetings. History begins quietly. Eleanor herself does not think of these developments in revolutionary terms. Most people rarely do. Her perspective remains personal, practical, immediate. Would Clara have greater educational choices? Would she possess more independence? Would she be able to pursue interests that previous generations had been encouraged to abandon? These questions feel real because they concern someone she loves. Large historical transformations often become meaningful only when attached to individual lives. A reform movement sounds abstract. A daughter's future does not. The clock in the hallway marks another quarter hour. Time continues moving. It always does. And so does society. Not smoothly, not predictably, but persistently. A servant passes through the corridor carrying a lamp. The small flame illuminates polished wood paneling before disappearing around a corner. For a moment, Eleanor watches the light recede. Then her attention returns to the city outside. London itself embodies change. The city has expanded dramatically during the 19th century. Railways connect neighborhoods that once felt distant. Telegraph wires transmit information with astonishing speed. New technologies appear regularly. New businesses emerge. New professions develop. The world is becoming more connected, more complicated, more modern. The Victorians themselves often felt overwhelmed by the pace of transformation, a feeling modern people would recognize immediately. Every generation eventually discovers that the future arrives faster than expected. This is where people get this wrong. They sometimes imagine history as a sequence of clearly defined eras: Victorian, Edwardian, modern, as though societies wake up one morning transformed. Reality is messier. The future often lives inside the present long before anyone notices. Clara represents that future, not because she will become famous, not because she will lead a movement, because she belongs to a generation growing up amid changing opportunities. A generation that may inherit a somewhat different set of expectations. The audience should pause here. Throughout Eleanor's day, we have repeatedly encountered tension: freedom versus expectation, privilege versus limitation, comfort versus control. The same tensions now appear at the level of society itself. Britain remains deeply traditional, yet reform continues. Women remain constrained in many ways, yet opportunities expand. Old structures endure. New possibilities emerge. The contradiction defines the age. As Eleanor stands beside the window, she imagines Clara as an adult. The image remains vague. No parent sees the future clearly, yet certain hopes appear. Perhaps more education, perhaps greater freedom to pursue intellectual interests, perhaps a broader range of choices. The hopes are modest, yet meaningful. History often advances through accumulated modest hopes, one generation imagining slightly more possibility for the next. Outside, the streets have grown quieter. The hour is becoming late. The city still glows, but with less activity than before. Shadows deepen between pools of lamplight. The evening is gradually surrendering to night. A curious feeling settles over the scene, not certainty, not triumph, hope, quiet hope. The kind that arrives without announcements, without speeches, without dramatic declarations. Simply the recognition that the future may contain opportunities not yet visible. The window has served many purposes throughout this documentary. A place of observation, a place of reflection, a boundary between personal life and public society. Tonight it becomes something more, a threshold between generations. Eleanor eventually steps away from it. The curtain falls back into place. The city remains outside. The household remains within. Yet something has shifted, not in the world itself, in understanding. We can now see her life not merely as a collection of daily routines, but as part of a larger story. A story of gradual change, of reform, of expanding opportunity, of people navigating traditions even as new possibilities emerge around them. The hour is growing late. The children sleep upstairs. The servants are completing their final tasks. The house is preparing itself for rest. Soon, the lamps will be lowered. The corridors will fall silent. The bedroom will welcome Eleanor once again. And there, in the quiet final moments of the day, among familiar objects that have accompanied us from the beginning, the story will gently draw toward its close. The house is growing quiet, not suddenly, not all at once. Quiet arrives gradually in a Victorian household. One room settles, then another. A door closes softly somewhere upstairs. A servant finishes a final task below stairs. Footsteps become less frequent. Voices fade. The great machinery of daily life begins winding itself down. By 10:30, the Ashcroft house feels entirely different from the bustling world that greeted us this morning. The drawing room stands empty. The piano rests beneath its cover. The nursery is dark. The staircase, which carried so many people between responsibilities throughout the day, now waits in silence. Only the lamps remain awake. Their warm glow lingers across wallpaper, polished wood, and framed photographs. Outside, London continues breathing beyond the windows. Carriages still pass occasionally. A distant cab rattles across cobblestones. Somewhere far away, a train whistle briefly cuts through the night. But even the city seems quieter now, more reflective, as though preparing for sleep alongside its inhabitants. Eleanor ascends the staircase slowly. One hand trails lightly across the polished banister. The wood feels cool and smooth beneath her fingertips. She has climbed these stairs countless times. Yet tonight they seem to carry a different meaning, because we have spent an entire day following her. We have walked beside her through rooms, routines, obligations, and reflections. The staircase feels almost like a summary of the journey. Below lies the public world. Above lies the private one. Step by step, she leaves one behind and returns to the other. The bedroom door opens, and we find ourselves back where this story began. The room glows softly beneath lamplight. Heavy curtains frame the window overlooking Kensington. The fireplace contains only a few fading embers now. A dressing table waits near one wall. A chair stands beside it. The bed, large and welcoming, dominates the room. The space feels familiar, not merely because we have seen it before, because it has accompanied Eleanor through every stage of the day. This room knows her better than society does. The audience should pause here. The bedroom has always represented something important. The private self beneath the public identity. The woman beneath the reputation. The person beneath the performance. Throughout the day, Eleanor has been many things. A wife, a mother, a hostess, a manager, a charitable organizer, a guardian of appearances, a participant in society. Now, for a little while, she can simply be herself. The final rest pocket begins here. The entire remainder of the evening belongs to quiet. Sarah Finch arrives briefly. The routine unfolds with familiar efficiency. Not rushed, not ceremonial, simply practiced. The process moves in reverse from the morning. First come the gloves, then the outer layers, the silk gown, the bustle, the petticoats, one layer after another. The careful engineering of Victorian respectability gradually disappears. Hooks loosen, fabric settles, weight lifts, the body changes shape, pressure eases. At last, Eleanor stands in a simple dressing gown. The difference feels immediate. The sensation is difficult to describe unless one has spent an entire day wearing structured clothing. Relief, not dramatic relief. Gentle relief, a quiet exhale experienced by the body itself. Sarah brushes Eleanor's hair, long strokes, steady rhythm. The brush moves through dark strands with a soft whispering sound. Neither woman speaks much. There is no need. The hour encourages silence. Soon the maid departs. The door closes softly behind her. And Eleanor is alone, truly alone. The lamp beside the bed casts a warm circle of light. Beyond it, shadows gather peacefully around the room. The audience should notice how slowly everything is moving now. The pace of the documentary has changed. The day is releasing its grip. Complexities are fading. Only essentials remain. The room, the light, the woman, the night. Eleanor crosses toward the window. The same window that has accompanied us throughout the story. This morning it framed possibility. This afternoon it framed reflection. This evening it framed hope. Now it frames memory. She parts the curtain slightly. London lies beyond. A scattering of gas lamps glows against darkness. Most windows are black now. Others still shine softly. Thousands upon thousands of lives unfolding simultaneously. Families preparing for bed. Night workers beginning shifts. Children sleeping. Lovers talking quietly. Patients recovering. Writers working. Servants finishing duties. The city never truly sleeps, yet it rests, just as people do. This detail matters more than it appears. History often encourages us to focus upon extraordinary events, wars, elections, discoveries, revolutions, yet most human experience consists of evenings like this. Ordinary nights, ordinary reflections, ordinary people finding their way through ordinary lives. The ordinary is history's true foundation. Eleanor lets the curtain fall back into place. The city disappears. The room remains. Nearby sits her pocket diary, a small object, easy to overlook. Yet we have encountered its significance throughout the day. Public identity, private self. The difference between them, she opens it briefly, not to write extensively, only a few lines. A note. An observation, a reminder, the sort of thought intended for no audience except herself. The pencil moves quietly across the page, then stops. The diary closes once more. The action lasts less than a minute, yet somehow it feels important. A private record preserved against time, evidence that beneath every historical category stood an individual consciousness, someone thinking. Observing, feeling, wondering. The clock strikes 11. The sound resonates softly through the house. 11 chimes. Then silence. The day has nearly ended. And here, we must return to where our journey truly began. The myth of the carefree Victorian lady, the image so often presented in popular imagination. A woman surrounded by comfort, protected from labor, free from responsibility, living a life of effortless privilege. After spending a day beside Eleanor, that image feels incomplete, not entirely false. Privilege was real, comfort was real. The warm rooms, the servants, the education, the security, the opportunities unavailable to many others, all of these existed. Yet so did something else. Expectation, management, performance, emotional labor. social labor, invisible work, the cost of respectability. The higher a woman climbed within respectable society, the more carefully she often had to maintain her position. Status functioned almost like a second occupation. The audience has seen this repeatedly. The morning dressing ritual, the household administration, the correspondence, the charity committees, the social calls, the management of appearances. None of it happened accidentally. All of it required effort. Yet reducing Eleanor's life to struggle would be equally misleading, because alongside duty existed affection, curiosity, friendship, music, reading, moments in the garden, children laughing at dinner, quiet conversations beside a fire. The story has always contained both realities, constraint and comfort, responsibility and privilege, performance and sincerity. Perhaps that is why Eleanor feels so recognizable despite the centuries separating us from her world. Human contradictions remain surprisingly consistent. The technologies change, the clothing changes, the expectations change. Yet people continue balancing competing desires, freedom and belonging, ambition and duty, privacy and connection. The details evolve. The tensions endure. The lamp beside the bed burns steadily. Its glow reflects faintly from the dressing table mirror. The room feels warmer now, safer somehow. The final layers of the day have fallen away. Eleanor settles beneath the blankets. The sheets feel cool at first, then gradually warm. The mattress shifts softly beneath her weight. The familiar comfort of routine surrounds her. Outside, a carriage passes one final time. Its wheels fade into the distance. Then there is only stillness. The fireplace contains nothing more than a faint red glow. The house has completely settled. Wood contracts quietly in the cooler night air. Pipes rest. Doors remain closed. The staircase stands empty. The drawing room sleeps. The nursery sleeps. The library sleeps. The garden waits beneath moonlight. The city beyond Kensington continues dreaming its countless dreams, and Eleanor lies quietly within her bedroom, the room where we first met her, the room where the day both began and ended. The heavy curtains, the window, the dressing table, the lamp beside the bed, familiar objects now carrying deeper meaning than before. Not because they changed, because we did. We understand them differently. The lamp's flame grows smaller. The shadows lengthen. The room softens. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, another century begins slipping away. The responsibilities are finished. The letters can wait. The accounts can wait. The expectations can wait. Morning will bring them all again. But not tonight. Tonight there is only quiet, only lamplight, only London sleeping beyond the window, and one woman resting within the gentle silence of her own small corner of history. As the final glow fades and the house settles completely into darkness, the 19th century feels less like a distant place and more like a remembered one, a world of coal fires and gas lamps, of calling cards and diaries, of duty, curiosity, affection, and restraint, a world now left behind for the night. And so, beneath the fading lamplight of Kensington, surrounded by quiet, wrapped in sleep, Eleanor Ashcroft drifts gently into tomorrow.